I just got out of the theater after seeing the new Naked Gun movie, and wow, I had an amazing time. A lot like O.J. Simpson, I went into this not knowing what the outcome would be, but in the end, I ended up walking away with a smile on my face. The only difference was I was smiling for a good reason. And I didn't kill my wife. This is one out of the 3 theater experiences where I was audibly laughing and grinning the entire time. And in a world full of bloat and high-budget garbage that doesn't care about the craft, this one felt special. As much as I love comedy, I'm not really a big fan of comedy movies. Yet this one felt like it was made with so much love, and it felt like people gave a shit. My favorite comedy is Airplane due to its witty, stupid, but clever writing. And it feels like Hollywood has just strided away from that. This movie feels like it's picking something back up that was left behind, and it shouldn't have been. The style is classic, yet it's delivered with a whole new format that works and isn't dated. This movie is a soft reboot sequel of the original Naked Gun series, and even though I have an old dad and I have seen a lot of old movies because of it, I don't think it matters if you've seen the old series, because I haven't either, and I think that's a good thing. I've seen clips of the old Naked Gun, and I could tell it was paying its respects to that movie, but damn, it really just works on its own. This actually starts off with Lieutenant Frank talking to a painting of his dad on the wall and saying how he wants to live up to him, yet be something totally original and different at the same time, which is worded like a joke, but it hits the nail right on the head for this movie. Anyways, there were only 7 people in this theater when I went, and it felt packed with how everyone was laughing. The jokes were so quick, and they just kept rattling them off one by one by one, to the point that you actually might miss some if you don't pay attention. Even the ones that I could see coming a mile away were delivered so well, and I couldn't help but laugh. By the way, Liam Neeson couldn't have been a better choice. Everything he says and does is so serious, which only adds to the absurdism, and it just works so well. There's this joke in the beginning where Lieutenant Frank just keeps getting handed coffee cups one after the other because that's what detectives do at crime scenes, and it just gets so wacky and absurd. You even have a hand come through the window on the highway while he's driving just to give him another cup after he threw 7 other ones away. There's this joke where they get to a car crash crime scene and someone asks Frank, drunk driving? And he responds with, no, just enough to wake me up. There's also another joke where Frank goes up to meet the bad guy for the first time. The bad guy says, Lieutenant Frank Drebin, and pulls out his hand to shake his hand. And Frank goes, oh, me too, and shakes his hand, which had me snorting in the theater. There's also another bit during a transition slide where there's text on the screen and someone runs into the text, and it's just so perfectly timed, and it catches you off guard near the climax of the movie, and it just had me snickering so hard. Speaking of, the visual gags are so creative in this movie. There's not a single fight or action scene that's not a gag or a parody of itself, and it's taken so seriously. It's almost kind of like Deadpool fights with how creative and silly they get. And with all of these jokes, they're just passed behind onto the next sentence like nothing happened, yet the conversation is treated so seriously. I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to pull off this type of humor. A lot of people who aren't into these kind of things just kind of write it off as dumb, when in fact, it takes some really intelligent, witty writing to execute these kind of things. I felt so relieved about 5 minutes into this movie because it truly felt like a breath of fresh air. I'm so thankful that we haven't strided that far away that people still appreciate these kind of movies. Not only do I feel inspired, and it's awesome that a whole new generation gets to experience these kind of movies, but they might potentially go back to watching the originals. I know I am. I have to. I actually called my dad right when I got outside of the theater, telling him how much he would like it and how he has to see it with me. Obviously, it's not a perfect movie, but the jokes and the time and care put into this overshines some of those errors. And for the people the movie was trying to speak to, it fucking sang. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, I loved every second of it. Now, it might not be your cup of tea, but if it is, you're probably gonna love it.